are interviewing inspirational women and having those conversations with the business leaders, the visionaries, and the movers and shakers that are changing the world and making an impact and leading with purpose. Today, it is my absolute pleasure to be interviewing Karen Stewart. She is the founder and CEO of Fairway Divorce Solutions and Bumblebees Venture Capital. So welcome, Karen.
I'm thrilled to be here, Monica.
Awesome. So Karen, how does it feel to be recognized as a woman of inspiration?
It's an honor. Honestly, it's an honor. I mean, first of all, I love the fact that it's an award about women, and I love the word inspiration. And I know we think it's overused and a little bit cliche, but reality is it's not. And in fact, it just is so on. I mean, I'm so proud and I'm so excited. And I'm humbled. It's like, really? Me?
Well, it's really interesting, Karen, because all of the women that I have interviewed so far over the years, and, we're now into our fourth year, every single dynamic, extraordinary woman that I've interviewed said, who, me? Because you're working head down and you have no idea the ripple effect that you're creating on the lives around you. And truly, inspiration is, it's a word that people use too often, but in this certain situation, it's so important because you and the work that you're doing and being able to elevate you, what you're doing is empowering others, and they're like, if she can do it, so can I. And that is opening up doors and creating hope for other women. So thank you so much for doing the work that you do.
Thank you.
So where did it all start, Karen? What has that journey of inspiration been? What has led you to this point?
Can you put pause, Monica? Can you pause this?
Yep.
I know
Okay, so we had a quick pause, but it's because there's something really important to share. And sometimes we have to take a pause when there's something incredible to share. So Karen, I'd love you to share about your journey that has led you to success.
So, that's such a loaded question, Monica.
It is.
So, the journey probably started at a very young age, right? When I as a daughter, was in a very traditional family where my father was a successful lawyer, my mother was a stay-at-home mom. And I will be completely honest with you, I didn't like the dynamics. I didn't like what I perceived at a very young age to be a power imbalance. Even though I love and adore my parents, I didn't like that. So I kind of, at a very young age, decided that I wanted to do and be something different. And I had this entrepreneurial spirit. I do believe to some degree that entrepreneurs are born. I think it's part of a DNA. And then of course you either that blossoms or not. But the other thing I think that's really been instrumental to my journey is the fact that I had three young children under the age of 7. I was really lucky. I achieved a excuse me. I'm going to see Deb. Would you mind getting me a drink of water?
All right.
Then unbeknownst to me, the universe had this really tough journey of divorce that I was meant to go through. So I achieved a lot of success at a very young age, accumulated quite a bit of wealth and properties. And then bang, had 3 kids. My youngest was 3 months, and my husband decided he didn't want to be married anymore. It was simple as that. He didn't love me. He didn't love our life. And bang, he's gone. And that really set me on a whole different journey. But what it did is I then became the primary breadwinner, and I became the one that had to, if I wanted my children to go to nice schools or to be able to do trips or have the education, that meant that I had to have my head down. So there was no exit plan for me. Sometimes when people are married and they're in a relationship and one person is making money, there's the option of maybe not working full time. I never had that option. I was head down. I had to raise 3 kids basically on my own. I had to make the money. And so I just drove hard into the world of entrepreneurialism. And that was my love of life anyways, but I really could never steer off of that. So I never, as a female, experienced mommy guilt. And that is a whole other conversation we can have, Monica, someday. But when you are the primary breadwinner, when you're an entrepreneur, when you're driven to be a great mom and a great parent and an amazing businesswoman, there's no room for guilt in that.
That is so incredibly true. I have to say that is a bigger conversation. I agree with you. There is no guilt. You don't have time to think about it. You just keep going in the direction of forward and fast, right? So, you know, leaving that situation, and you saying that was a defining moment because it really set you on the path for, you know, you've started how many businesses? Like 7 successful businesses, and you're just getting started, correct?
I think it's over 8. So I was an entrepreneur. I started my first business at 18. I've started and built and sold a number of businesses. I think I'm well over 8 businesses now. I am an entrepreneur that looks at industries that are that I believe need to be modified, changed, disrupted, and then I just go in and create what I think is the answer for the well-being of the consumer. So I'm an entrepreneur that is disruptive by nature, but I have a really strong consumer advocacy heart. So I'm about Mother Earth and about making the world a better place for the ultimate benefit of generations to come. That's kind of a maternal perspective. But I'm an entrepreneur and measured like every other entrepreneur. That is by, you know, the success of your business, your profitability, your impact in your marketplace, et cetera, et cetera.
So I want to go back to Fairway Divorce Solutions. You know, we talk about, you say disrupting, but you certainly have disrupted the entire system of divorce. So maybe you can share a little bit about leading with purpose.
I think purpose comes at so many levels. For me, it was always, and I will say, sort of tuning into the universe. That was something that was a driver in a lot of my initiatives in starting businesses. With Fairway, I was very fortunate at a young age to be able to have the money to hire the best that money could hire. So I couldn't look at the system, the traditional system, and say, oh, well, it didn't go so well for me because I didn't have the money to have the top-notch advice, but I did. And so for me, I looked at it and thought that the system was fundamentally broken. It wasn't designed for resolution. It was designed for destruction. And, you know, out of 5 years and over $500,000 in legal bills and a complete destruction of the ability to co-parent with the father of my children, which to this day, you know, money aside, money comes and goes, you can rebuild it. And I've been fortunate enough to do that. But the damage that was done to the ability to co-parent, that has never been repaired. And so I left that industry mad, but more importantly, inspired and driven to make a difference. And when I started Fairway, when I came up with the concept, everybody said, you can't do it. They said, I like the idea, you can't do it. You know, if it falls into the legal jurisdiction, you're going to get in trouble. And now, 12 years later, there's a million copycats. To me, that's validation of the market space. You know, we're the only and the largest alternative dispute resolution in Canada in the area of divorce. So we have that space. But it's commonplace now. And people think, when I started this, I couldn't find anybody who to mentor that I could look to say, okay, I want to be like that company when I grow up. No, I had to create it was a new industry, a new structure, a new market. And, you know, sometimes I look back and honestly, I don't know how I did it. I must have had a whole lot of, you know, universal troops behind me that I couldn't see. I don't know.
Well, I definitely know that you did have a bunch of those, because you're leading with purpose, you're finding the solution, and I always say that you're taking the road less traveled, and that road less traveled is definitely paving the way for others to follow in your footsteps and creating a whole marketplace where others can succeed is huge too. And you know, I don't ever look at competition as competition. It only elevates what it is that you have. Your brand is really, really amazing. I know that you and I met in 2007. And I still remember your tagline. It was 120 days to resolution. And I thought, bless, that sounds like a great opportunity. Regrettably, that was not my reality. That's a whole other conversation. But I remember stumbling upon you that came as a recommend when that was in 2007. So that was probably close to the beginning of your journey with Fairway Divorce Solutions. And I just saw that as such a blessing, as an alternate source for people to go through that process as quickly and as peacefully as possible. And regrettably, that wasn't my reality, but I just know how many lives that's impacted, Karen. So that's super inspirational, how you've helped many, many people and open up a whole new market that didn't exist before. So I look forward to seeing that journey grow. But that's not where you stopped. So your newest venture.
Well, and I think that's the key for an inspirational leader, entrepreneur. You never stop. You know, I have a little thing at home that the word retirement, my husband's not allowed to ask me about that word until I'm 82. And so that is a rule in our house because as an entrepreneur, you know, I think you're driven not because of the piles of money you're going to make, but because you're driven just for the purpose of making a difference and doing things that matter. For me, my measure is, am I being influential? Am I creating influence? That's my measure of success. And so when I look at all my companies, there's always been an element of that. And that led me really, I mean, my background's in finance, and that's sort of my area of expertise. And that's the common academic thread through all my businesses. And I always knew, I've never thought that Fairway was going to be my last company, or, you know, I always knew it was going to be one of or part of the journey. I think it's still got many, many years to go, but I'm an advocate for women in general. And one of the things that I got to, and men too. But one of the things I got to see through all my different career, through Fairway as a divorce company, through my wealth management company, Milestone, through my insurance company, my real estate company, I got to see how women are around money. And the reality is a lot of women, we're still very disempowered. And I personally believe it's a choice. We are choosing to be disempowered. And so I had a vision of creating a company, and our tagline, it's called Bumblebees Venture Capital. Our tagline is putting wealth and leadership in the hands of women to make the world a better place. Putting wealth in the hands of women, that's giving women access to investments they would have not otherwise been invited to the table to invest in. We do not get invited to invest in a lot of these great deals. You know, you look at the Amazon, Apple, the large majority of those investors are male. So I want to give women access to these kind of amazing unicorn deals. Putting leadership, by putting money and power in the hands of women, we can actually elevate the leadership of women in the world. And that will fundamentally change the world. I believe that. It's not so much about male versus female, it's about the divine feminine. And that may sound hokey, it's not. It's real and it's tangible. We know that there's lots of evidence about women in leadership and why we need more balance there. And then to make the world a place. So obviously we're doing this to invest in companies that are going to make the world a better place. At the end of the day, though, this is a investment private equity company. We've already done 2 rounds. We're closing round 2. So super exciting and fantastic success out of the gate. But in doing that, we still hold ourselves accountable to the return on investment. So we're no different than any other fund. Just like divorce, we hold ourselves accountable. Did we get people done in a timely, cost-efficient way? With Bumblebees, are we getting people ability to invest in companies and do a good return on their investment?
That's super exciting. And I do have to say that whole rebuilding piece, you know, when I look at the Nest Foundation that we launched last year and how we're rebuilding the lives for women and their families, you know, that is a vision, is to be able to provide stability and resources and tools, but mentorship and networking and making memories for families, but also that finance piece. So there's some really interesting things. And I think that's not talked about enough, Karen. And that's something certainly on my priority list as well to make sure that we draw attention to. So I love the fact that we are inspiring leaders to take that position. And I know that we've launched Support Her, which is to elevate the men in the community that are empowering women in their networks and their workplaces and communities, because men and women are extremely great allies together. And I believe that, and I think you share the same, where, you know, women bring a certain something to that leadership table, and there's lots of space on that table for men and women to work together. So it's really exciting to see other influential leaders such as yourself carving that same purpose and passion and opening up doors and shining the light. And that's certainly what we're doing with Women of Inspiration, Karen, is shining the light on the leaders such as yourself that open up the space and say, you know what, she can do it, I can do it. So I think that's really incredible. But I love having this conversation with you, because you're certainly one of the most inspirational women, you know, that I've met, and just this power and force of nature behind you that is just contagious. So I'm going to ask you, what inspires you about the work that you do?
Oh, you know, that's such a good question. You know, I think for me, I measure myself, my self-worth as a woman, as a mother, is measured based on my impact that I'm making. And that's how I measure myself. So if I end a day and I don't feel like I've made steps forward in impacting, and that's not just as a businesswoman or as a entrepreneur, but also as a mother. And so I think most entrepreneurs, when you go deep, there's this element of fear of failure, right? Most type A personalities have that. You don't want to fail. But for me, I think beyond that is really, when I'm at my deathbed, I want to look back and be able to say, I lived every day to the fullest and I made a difference in the world. And, you know, when I even look at Bumblebees, and I love what you're doing with your program around including men, a lot of our investors are males. A lot of our board members, we have male board members. So it's never about being anti-something. It's always being about pro-something. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I measure myself. I don't measure myself by my bank account, which is interesting. And I think a true entrepreneur, if they measure themselves by their bank account, they're really not a true entrepreneur. They're driven by such an egocentric mechanism. Now, granted, money can be used to make a big difference in the world. But I think for me, I'm driven to make a difference in the world. I'm driven to influence. And with that comes the gift of admiration, right? Getting recognized, although that makes me feel uncomfortable, but I like it. I mean, it feels good too. And then the other thing is the gift of making a difference in people's lives. So I don't know. It's also, to be totally authentic, it's also a burden. It's also, you know, I call it the entrepreneurial disease, right? It's what makes me who I am, but it's also exhausting probably for people who adore and love me, because I'm always in the process of innovation.
I'm shaking check, because I understand everything that you've said. And I'm sure that for those that are listening or watching this interview, they're probably just chuckling to themselves right now, because the true entrepreneur keeps growing and evolving, and you are right on the mark. Every single person that I've ever interviewed, they are not led by money. Money follows. Success is determined by the impact that they're making and leading with that bigger purpose. The zeros in the bank account are certainly nice and they're required, but it's not what leads them to do some amazing things. And they're also continuing to, they're actively finding solutions for things that are going to help and serve others. So it never just stops. There's never just a 9 to 5 and the 5 o'clock hits and they're like, time to go home. I'm off. You know, and certainly you have a very, very busy life, Karen. So how do you balance that? You know, everybody talks about work-life balance. What's your take on that?
Well, first of all, I don't like that word because it is balance in some ways is goes along with mediocrity. Um, so for me, I live everything I do, I do with great intention, and everything I do, I absolutely do because I love it. So I have a couple of things. One is um, um, I have in my life, like an entrepreneur, said yes way too many times. So I've now got this new mechanism that I use, which is the answer is either no or hell yes. I didn't make that up. I stole that from some great writers up there. I've been, I'm an insatiable reader. I love reading. So it's no or hell yes. So if it doesn't measure up to hell yes, I don't do it. So for me, hell yes is working because I love working. I'm an extreme outdoors person, so I do high peak altitude climbing. I just got back from Switzerland where I did a glacier. I'm passionate about my family and my children. So last weekend I was, on the boat for 3 days straight, water skiing and wakeboarding and sun tanning and drinking and whatever you need to do. So I tend to live, I don't book my life in hours or half hours. I tend to think of myself in minutes. Now, I have made the commitment to my team, interestingly enough, to not work 80 to 100 hours a week, but actually to reduce that because I realize that when I'm creating at that level, I'm actually driving my team too hard. So I'm trying to put some discipline around the hours that I'm actually creating and working, but every minute of my day, I love what I do. I love if I'm driving to work, I'm in the moment. If I'm on a mountain, I'm in the moment. If I'm creating, I'm in the moment. That's to me, I mean, the word balance. It's really about having complete intention and passion about everything you want to do and saying no to everything you don't want to do with absolutely no apology. I'm still working on that, but my goal is to get very masterful at that because there are some people in the world who have done that and their life is full. It may tick some people off by saying no a lot, but that's okay.
And that is okay. I totally like the hell yes. Like if there's a hell yes, it just flows, right? There's just no obstacles. It's not laborious. It just goes. And I think that's also a sign of the universe being saying, yes, green light, go, right? It's a hell yes on all levels. But being present. So instead of referring to balance and, I'm like shaking my head again about the being present in the moment, because the moments that you have when you are with your family or when you have with the downtime, because you've got so many other things on the go, if you don't take that time to be present, that moment goes and then you lose that opportunity. So I think that's such a beautiful way, is just being present in the moment, whatever moment that is.
But the other thing I want to just highlight, so when you think of the word downtime,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually a negative phrase. So I don't like that. I don't use downtime because downtime implies that you're down, that you're stagnant, that you're stopping. It's more, where am I going to choose to spend my time? If I'm going to take an hour to read a book, that's passionate time that I'm going to embrace knowledge and learn from other people. One of my tricks is I travel a lot. I don't suffer jet lag. I think one of the reasons I don't suffer jet lag is I have mentally disciplined myself. And I think it comes down, Monica, I think life is about mental discipline.
Mm-hmm.
But I have mentally disciplined myself to think that the second I leave my home, I am on the journey. So travel time, I go to Switzerland, I leave Thursday, I come back Tuesday. I do that all the time. I go to Chamonix, leave Thursday, come back Tuesday. I go to all different places in the world for 5 days. Now, of that 5 days, I'm actually traveling 2.5. So people would say, are you crazy? But the reality is, the second I leave my home and I'm in the car to the airport, I'm on the journey. So that is no different than I'm still experiencing a 12-hour flight. And my husband doesn't like to go first class. I used to love it, but I don't anymore because he doesn't want to do it. So I'm always in economy plus or whatever. So I'm not sometimes even economy. I embrace every moment. And I think if we can learn to do that and discipline ourselves, then where's downtime or balance even play a role in your life? It's all about being absolutely present in every moment and embracing it and loving it. And it's our mental discipline around, right now, this is fabulous. But I could say maybe this is downtime. I'm sitting in the chair, I'm talking to you, I'm not writing anything. But this is fabulous time. So I don't like those words. I don't like the word retire, because retire means, put in the ground. I don't like the word downtime. I don't like those. I don't use them because when you say it, you own it at a cell level. I don't go there.
I absolutely love that. And I'm not going to use the word downtime anymore, because there really is no downtime. I actually align very much with what you're saying. So to me, that when I take off on a plane, it's self-care time. So I put on my fuzzy slippers and I'm like, I have all my stuff to read, and I get so super excited because it is my time to invest into me and just peaceful. Yeah, I love. Oh yeah. So I sleep a lot too. So I'm like, it's my time to sleep.
Oh, hey, there's a book, there's research out now that says they're actually saying our old way of thinking about sleep is completely outdated and completely disruptive. And now they've actually done tests in Harvard and lots of tests to say that the thought of trying to get 6 or 7 or 5 hours a night of sleep is actually hurting our brains. And they did this whole test between creativity and intelligence and problem solving, and the more sleep, the better. So there you go.
Well, I know that that's something that I guard very sacredly is my sleep time, because number one, it costs nothing, but it is discipline. And a lot of those great big things like drinking your water, getting your rest, and daily meditation, they don't cost anything, but you have to make time. Anyways, we could go on and on. We will have another chat for that. But I think you kind of covered off a couple of your secrets to success. So if there was one secret to success that somebody could say, you know what, this has been life-changing for me on your end, that you could inspire someone else, what would that secret to success that you could share with somebody else listening or watching today?
I think the secret to personal success or to success is to trust your instincts, trust your own vision, and then have the discipline to move forward with it. Get rid of the naysayers. The large majority of people, unfortunately, are not going to live full, enriched, happy lives because they're choosing not to. So if you want to be that person who's different, who lives life to its fullest and a successful entrepreneur, you have to completely trust your gut. Trust it, then trust your instincts around it, ignore the naysayers, and have complete discipline every day about making it happen.
I absolutely love that. And I went and I grabbed this. Remember the string? So, and I'm very guided on that. I'm open about, talking about that level of heightened frequency that we operate on. And so I do believe trusting your intuition, listening to that is a super, super key success trait. So I couldn't agree more with you. And anybody that I've ever met that's on their path has said exactly the same thing. So for those that are listening, take note. How intuitive are you? And just take action, because if you don't take action, nothing else happens. So Karen, 5 years from now, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Maybe a little bit older. Maybe I'll have to have had a facelift by then. I don't know. You know what? Honestly, doing exactly what I'm doing today. I would hope by that time that my companies are a bit bigger. So making not just because of money, but making an impact in more lives. I'm hoping I've touched more people, but I want my life to be exactly, there's nothing I want to change. I just want to be bigger and better and have touched more people.
Fantastic. Thank you for this amazing interview, Karen. It has been an absolute pleasure to interview you, because you are such an inspiration to people in general. Where can people find out more about Bumblebees Venture Capital Company?
So here's our website. Just a second. Just time out. Deb. Okay. So fairwaydivorcesolutions.com and bumblebeesventurecapital.com are the two business websites. But you can also tune into what will be launched in September, a YouTube channel that I'm actually launching about just giving some daily advice about divorce and business and entrepreneurship and being a have-it-all woman without destroying yourself in the process. And getting rid of the word balance, but having intention in every aspect of your life. So you can watch for that. It'll be this is the Karen Stewart YouTube channel sometime in the fall.
That's lovely. And they can also plan on being in the room for Women of Inspiration Awards, September 20th. And the cool part is then you can like rub shoulders with all these awe-inspiring women that are creating massive ripple effects in the world. Any last words of advice before we break out?
No, the only thing I want to say is, Monica, I think you're fabulous. And my advice to other women is to look to you as an inspiration and as a mentor, who's somebody who has overcome huge challenges in your personal life. I've been with you and worked with you and watched you grow, and I'm just really proud of what you've accomplished. And I think that you and yourself and your heart can show other women that you can overcome all diversity, and because you trust your gut, you trust your instincts. You have a lot of naysayers. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but you are a real inspiration. So I think I would leave on those closing words.
Oh, well, I am so honored. Thank you, Karen, because those words mean so much to me. So thank you for sharing. I truly appreciate them. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the green room and we're going to dance it out. Thanks, Karen.
Okay. Get Deb behind me waving. I love her.
Bye, Karen.
Bye. Thank you.
Kiss me, I'm dying.